All right.
There is a chance through half of this entire setup I have right now just falls flat on its face. If it does, I'll be right back.
All right, we are live. So let me go back and I'm going to share my screen and then let everyone in. All right, here we go, everybody. Dawn, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, excellent. Good morning, everyone. So happy that you decided to spend your morning with us. Welcome to the Hoboken Chamber event. This is Coffee and Conversation with you, small businesses, and also our wonderful panel, who's the executive committee of the Hoboken Chamber. So to start off, I'm Dawn Pascale. I'm the general manager for the Hoboken Chamber. The Hoboken Chamber is now a chapter underneath Hudson County, larger Hudson County Chamber of Commerce umbrella. Unless people didn't know that, I thought that I would make you aware of that from the beginning. We are accompanied by our panelists today who are part of our executive committee. We have Talia Filippelli, Adam Kilpatrick, Lisa Troyano-Ascolese, and Edward Verdel. The goal of today's session is to really have a very interactive, easy conversation talking about issues that you may have as a small business. I'm also a small business owner. I have felt the struggles and challenges throughout the crisis that we're all facing today. I am trying not to use all of the hashtags of we'll get through this together and we are all there, even though we are all going through this together and we are all here to help each other. This conversation this morning is to hopefully help you see things differently, maybe give you a different perspective, outlook, maybe help you think a little bit outside the box. So again, our panelists are Talia, Adam, Lisa, and Ed. I'm going to turn it over to each of them, who are going to start off with a small introduction, and then they're going to tell us something that they did differently throughout this time. So let's turn it over to Talia.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Talia Filippelli. I'm the founder of Star Therapy. We are a group private mental health practice in town. We've been in town since 2011, serving kids, teens, adults, couples, families. We work with people on all kinds of mental health issues, anxiety, stress, relationship issues, you name it. So we're a small business like you guys are. We're feeling some of the same changes that everybody else is going through, trying to figure out how to pivot our business, which is going to be the topic for today. We'll be discussing that later on. So I'm excited to share that and hear everybody else's ideas on how they're pivoting and evolving their businesses to serve the community's new needs. One of the things that Dawn asked us was to talk about something we're doing differently. And I would say that one of the things that I'm doing differently is I'm connecting more with my staff. I have found that to be extremely rewarding and really useful in making sure that I am kind of plugged in to what everybody else is feeling and experiencing and going through, not just as it relates to our business, but also what they're going through personally, right? At home while we're all quarantined. I found that my relationships with my staff have grown over the course of the quarantine because of we're doing more one-on-ones now. We're doing more staff meetings via Zoom. I think it's kind of helped us all stay in alignment with what our mission is and collaborate on how we're going to pivot our services to serve the needs of the community now. I found that that's one thing that I think I struggled having time for it before, to be honest. While I always thought it was important, I struggled to really make adequate time to connect with my staff. And so that's definitely one thing I'm doing differently in the quarantine. And I found it to be extremely helpful, really useful for the business. So I guess
Okay.
I'll pass it, Dawn, to
Yeah.
whoever's next.
Yeah, thanks, Talia. Adam?
Sure.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Adam Kilpatrick. I'm a member of the team here, and I'm an agent for the New York Life Insurance Company. I guess I could start by saying, the adjustment into this new reality was interesting. I work in the life insurance world. I work in the retirement planning world. I help individuals. I help families. I help business owners, and a lot of the services that I provide through New York Life are really involved in this crisis because of the fact that folks are worried about their health, they're worried about their mortality, they're worried about their financial stability and their financial futures. And I think a lot of the things that we do at New York Life are developed for times like these. These are the times where you want a company that you could rely upon that has financial strength and stability, and that is going to be there, keep the promises that they made for your life insurance, for your family's protection, for your own retirement. The monies that people have watched disappear in their retirement accounts over the last 8 weeks is just scary. I think folks are now worried about, especially folks close to retirement, as they're getting to their their time to take that money. They're worried about what money they have and what's become of that money. So I do say that my conversations have changed a lot. So to answer the question, what's different? What have I done differently? A lot of my conversations with my clients and my my network have to do just with listening to their concerns, their financial concerns, their worries. I've had conversations with folks who said, I'm the provider for this family. I provide the income for this family, and I'm worried if something happened to me. Do I have enough coverage? Do I, are my kids are little? Will they have money for college? All the things that a parent would worry about. Sometimes people just have to talk through it and really kind of understand what they have and if they have the protection they need. And so I just find a lot of my daily conversations are just one-on-one, talking about things that are on people's minds that are keeping them up at night. And a lot of people, look, I don't particularly feel that when people say are you selling, and I kind of go back to, look, I don't want to earn what I do by quote unquote selling to anybody. And I really feel that the services I provide are things that folks want to feel comfortable about. And so I feel better about just being there as a resource and being there as a person to listen. And a lot of the days I spend are doing similar videos like this, just talking and listening to people, and hearing what their concerns are for their business, for their families, for their kids. I'll share with you one quick story. I had a woman that I was working with. We hadn't talked in 8 months, and I just called to check up on her and say, how are things and how are the kids? And she broke into tears over the phone. She was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, in December, and she's now going through chemo. And she's, so on top of all of the financial worries she has as a parent, as a single parent, her health worries over the pandemic, she's now got this to deal with. And it was an interesting and long phone call to talk with her about her life and her concerns. And anyway, I guess, for me as a business person, I'm glad that I'm engaging with my clients every day. My purpose has changed. My conversations have changed, but I feel strongly that, I could be a resource for people I work with, even through this time, to help get them through.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you. Going to turn it over to Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa, Troyano-Ascolese. I own Angle & Volkers up on 14th Street. We're a real estate company. I think the one thing I've done differently, I think for any small business owner, we're a small shop, but we're actually a global brand. So for me, we had just opened a year ago. Actually, we celebrated our annual anniversary of being open in quarantine. But for me, we were on such a growth spurt that I really didn't have the chance to like catch up with like normal stuff in the office. So we did a lot of that. We did a huge, I wanted to keep my staff on. That was important to me. I have a phenomenal admin staff, and I wanted to make sure that they were on and didn't, get furloughed or whatnot. So we kind of pivoted and we focused it a lot on the marketing. So we launched a YouTube channel. We released a new video series. We did a podcast. We ramped up our social media just because we had so many eyeballs, sitting at home, arguably one of the most captivated audiences we'll ever have. So we really put all of our efforts into marketing and really leveraged our global network, getting on calls with, our shops in Barcelona and Italy, and because they're about 2 weeks ahead of us there with the crisis. So really trying to understand how they did it, because as real estate, we're deemed an essential business, which is nice, but we're not able to do 75% of our work. I mean, we can't get into properties, tenants, and rightfully so, right? So if a tenant feels uncomfortable with someone coming in, we can't show that property. So although we were essential and technically allowed to be working, I shut down the shop. I think it was like March 11th, and we haven't opened since. So we're just trying to kind of focus on the things that we can focus on. We have amazing properties that stayed with us. We didn't lose a single listing during all of this. So, we have a big responsibility to try and get those properties sold for our people in a unique way. And we're leveraging our network and our marketing to do so. So I think that's probably the one thing I've really focused on as far as a pivot's concerned.
Thanks, Lisa. Ed, over to you.
Thank you, Dawn. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces and names this morning. My name is Ed Verdel. I'm with the VIP team at Compass. So like Lisa, I'm also a residential real estate broker. And certainly our lives and businesses have changed, but I would say that as entrepreneurs, our job is really to adapt and overcome. And whatever the obstacles thrown in our way, we need to be able to adapt and get through it. And if it means changing the way we do business, then it means changing the way we do business. I could echo a lot of what Lisa said. I mean, we are doing a lot more marketing, and in general, I'm working on the back end of my business. And all of us are so busy in our day-to-days that there's certainly things that we're neglecting. And this is the time to really dive into those things that you're neglecting. Maybe it's relationship management with your customers. Maybe it's building a marketing pipeline. If you do any email blasting, for instance, maybe you want to create a series of them that you're going to send out in the future. This is really a time to prepare for when life goes back to normal, because it will. It may take some time, but when it does, you want to basically be able to hit the ground running and capitalize on all the people who are not prepared, and really put yourself in a position to win. So, we're doing things like virtual tours. I'm FaceTiming with clients at properties, walking through them. What I am seeing in the real estate market is there's very low inventory right now, but there are still people that need to move. There are people relocating from other states that need to move here. There are people coming from here that are relocating to other states. There are people retiring. There are people trying to get out of the city as quick as possible and move over here. So there's still things happening within the real estate industry. Certainly I'm out showing property a lot less than I was before this. But again, I feel like I'm busier than ever right now during this crisis. And I know that some other people feel the same way, because again, if you're not in your day-to-day, if you're a restaurant that's closed down right now, maybe you're preparing for takeout, but at least you can work on your marketing. You can work on your plans for the future, whatever those plans may be. So stay busy, stay positive, and we'll all get through this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ed. Okay, so I'd like to echo Ed's comments. It really is great to see everybody. To see your faces this morning. And again, we're so happy that you decided to join us this morning for coffee and conversation. Thanks again in advance to our EXCO members for volunteering to be part of this panel discussion this morning. So a little bit of the ground rules, and then we'll get to talking. We have a couple of questions that we've scripted already to sort of start the conversation. The goal of this panel discussion and conversation is exactly that, conversation. dialogue, interaction. This is a forum for you to ask questions and have, hopefully, an opportunity to talk about some of the things that you may be struggling with, or maybe you're happy about this reset and the opportunity to take advantage of a little bit of a downtime to think about your business differently. So the ground rules are, if you have a question, raise your hand, unmute yourself, ask the question. It could be directed to any one of the panelists. It could just be an open question, and then any of our 4 panelists can jump in and answer that question. So I'm going to start it off just to start to get people's wheels spinning. If you don't already have a list of questions, created for yourself. So let's start with this. Is anyone using this reset time to their advantage? Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in. Yes, in the sense that, this reset, this quarantine is definitely causing us in the mental health industry to think about how we provide services a little bit differently. But I've also, I think I'm a pretty optimistic person by nature, but I love that this is an opportunity to develop new services to meet the needs of the community and what's happening with the quarantine. So, at Star Therapy, we've used this as an opportunity to develop some programming, which we're in the middle of doing it for frontline healthcare workers. We're doing, something that's going to be free for them to support them during the crisis, as well as some more intensive treatment programs thereafter. So for me, I think being able to look at it through the lens of how can we serve the new needs? How can we serve people in this time where everything is changing? I think, there's something about the entrepreneurial spirit that makes us tap into the creative side of the business and how we can make changes and come up with new ideas. So I think that that's inherent. I know that that's inherent in all of us panelists, and I'm sure everybody else here on the call has that within them as well. So, we have tried to look at it through that lens, and I'm kind of hopeful that this, not just this conversation, but all of us on this call going forward can start to look at this through an opportunistic perspective on how we can make adjustments or create new services or new products to serve the needs of the community now and keep our businesses afloat so we make it through to the other side. That's it.
Lisa, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So I like Talia. I think that's why Talia and I get along so well. We're very, we see the positives in any situation, especially something like this. And I think, Ed and I could kind of speak to the same things. We're always, as real estate agents, we're always running. It's always the next, you get pulled in so many directions. This person needs a house, this person needs a rental. And there's never been a time to really sit and pause, because when you are a realtor or any business owner, you're constantly, there's a good competition, right? So there's always somebody doing something, and you always feel like you should be doing something. And this really hit the pause button. I mean, everybody across every industry, almost had to stop. And so it's been a really interesting reset for me personally, on a personal and a professional level, to just be like, okay, what do I really want for my business? What do I really want for my employees? Where are we taking this next? And I don't think I'll ever, or any of us will ever, get that time where the entire world essentially stops and you're able to really focus on what's important, again, both personally and professionally, and really take it to the next level. So, I mean, I hate to say it because it's such a terrible thing to say while people are sick and dying, but it's been a really, really beneficial time for us as a company and for me as a leader. And it's for that, it's been incredibly, now obviously scary because, our volume has dropped considerably, and you worry about paying those bills and everything, but we were running pretty lean to start with. So we really had an opportunity to focus on what matters, instead of the rat race, which has been great.
And I'll add as a small business owner as well. And if folks don't know, or missed the beginning, I'm the owner of Home Sweet Home Specialty Bakery. I started out as a wholesale business in Hoboken, and then moved to an actual brick and mortar and opened up a shop about 3 years ago, January, up in Cliffside Park. So I'm up right at the beginning of Bergen County. I cried. I cried for about 2 weeks. I'm going to be totally honest with everybody. And then once I sort of got past that, wow, okay, my life and my business is completely different, then how do I use this reset to my advantage? So what I did was I thought, how do I still stay relevant in people's minds? So I sat down and said, well, then how do I reach the people if they're not physically walking into my shop, or I'm not providing a product via wholesale to the plethora of businesses in Hoboken and Jersey City who carry my products? Then how do I still get in front of people? So I took a step to the right and said, okay, you got to create yourself an online site where you can do ordering and so on and so on and so on. And that's what I did for myself. I took some time to actually build that online ordering website for myself, and I'm taking it in phases. So what I've been trying to do is not overwhelm myself with the enormity of the change. I'm trying to phase it for myself. My prior life in HR I was a business analyst. So I was used to running projects. So I said, well, okay, if I was my own client, how would I phase this project for myself and not be overwhelmed by all of the tasks that need to be done? So I made myself a little project plan. There were some things that I put off. There were some things that I finished in 2 days instead of the 4 days that I had planned it out for myself. But that's what I did. I cried. I screwed my head on straight, and then I created myself a plan that I'm going to phase and continue. I've also made some very serious decisions about the business. I decided that I'm probably not for the rest of the year going to open up my shop to walk-in customers. I've decided that I'm probably going to put a little pickup window in, and I'm going to talk to the landlord about that modification. So there's some things that I feel will be easier for me to still stay afloat. To Lisa's point, not at the volume that I was used to, but at least I sort of get myself back there. So that's what I did. Barbara, I know you wanted to say something.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks so much for inviting me to this meeting. In 2014, I was one of the finalists for the Hoboken Chamber of Commerce Business Awards as an education provider, because I'm a singing teacher and I run a voice studio. In the last year, I've actually moved to Rutherford, but I've been in Hoboken for decades, and I'm really grateful to still be in touch with this Chamber of Commerce. So the thing that I've done that's actually been the most interesting is that I've looked into my past. I had a book that came out in 2013. It was the second edition of a singing book that I'd written for teenagers. And I was working with someone who was a specialist in promoting books, self-published books. And they were adamant, that you needed to get online, you needed to get a platform set up, you needed to be able to teach online, you needed to be able to reach out nationally. They had all of these examples of people who had done this successfully. And I had put together a bunch of curriculum based on the more academic part of teaching musicals, which is what I specialize in. For instance, just this week, there was the 10th musical that won a Pulitzer Prize for dramatic literature. And most people don't know that. They think, musicals are tap dancing and comedy, but they actually are. Some of them are based on very fine literature. Some of them are based on books you would read in college. And I had wanted to put together a course that taught how the musicals are spring from and compare to the original literature that they're based on, to encourage kids to, take another look at them and go back and read the original source material. So I had a whole bunch of files on course ideas that I had in order to do this. But, that in 2013, 2014, we didn't have Zoom. I had a software that I thought was going to work for it, and then it sort of fell apart. And I just decided, this is a great idea, but I can't spend any more time on it. I just need to put it in my files. And I forgot it was there. So I went back into my files and I pulled this out and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great, because now everyone's working on Zoom and I can figure out how to work Zoom. Some of the previous online programs I was having trouble with, but this is easy and it's worldwide. And, what can I do with all of this coursework that I had put together? So just in the last few weeks, I discovered a platform called outschool.com, where they allow people to go on and teach courses. It's aimed for kids between the ages of 3 and 18. And you design the course however you want. It may just be a 1-hour course, one-shot deal. It may be 8 weeks where you teach one class a week. Some of the people will put together a 4-week course during the school year. And then in the summer, they take those same 4 lessons and they compress it into a week and make it a camp. So you take one lesson on Monday, another on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, and one on Thursday. It's very flexible. It's really dependent on the teachers being very creative. And the teachers don't have to have teaching certificates. And you can come up with that, whatever it is that you need, and they need to, then they can just, you know, approve you, and they do a background check on you, and then you can teach worldwide. So I have not gotten this off the ground yet, but I am scrambling to try to put my curriculum together in a way that will fit their format, and reading up. They have a Facebook page for all the potential teachers so that they can talk amongst themselves about, you know, what their application process was like. Did they get turned down? Did they apply again? How did that work? You know, which of their classes are working? Are they making more money with this than with VidKid, which was another online educational group, and it's the same company that's doing both of them. But this one apparently has really taken off. And they've been around for 3 years, but now they've got like twice as many teachers as they had, you know, 2 months ago.
And Barbara, you said outschool.com?
Yes.
Outschool.com, great.
So if you want to teach about your industry, that's someplace you can go. There's, you know, there's one guy on there who's an audio producer. He doesn't have a degree in teaching, but he's been an audio producer in Denver for 5 years. And I looked at his curriculum and I was like, well, my heaven's sakes, he's got an hour-long class on the physics of sound. I'm going to just send my students to him and let them go pay the $20 to take that class and then come back to me. And we'll talk about how, you know, sound moves inside your body and affects you when you're singing. But I, you know, I try to teach this during my lessons. I'd rather have him teach it. He probably knows more about it than I do. So it's just been a remarkable experience to get into this program. There's people who teach on finance for teenagers. Really, I'm sure there's things that kids could learn from you all. In the fields that you're expert in, and you just need to be good at talking to kids. So, so that's what I'm doing. Besides crying, you know, you do that too.
The crying is good and cathartic. It definitely is. But thank you for that link. That's excellent. I'll make note of it. Outschool.com. Great.
Yes. Yes.
Does anybody else want to share any comments about the reset advantage, or do you want to ask a question?
I'll jump in real quick. This is Jake from smallbizmakeover.com website design. And I am finding it easier now to do sales outreach because it's a lot easier to get in touch with the business owners. I have to obviously reach out and try and find the people that from different organizations that are in charge of their websites, or just the business owners in general who budget for it. And it's now easier than ever to get them on the phone. They're typically the ones answering it when that was not the case before. So I've actually created an in-depth sales script and hired somebody to do cold calling for me. So I'm taking this whole situation that we have as an opportunity, at least for me, to get in touch with the right people and try and strike while the iron's hot. Granted, I wish it were under better circumstances, but the fact of the matter is, it is an easier time than ever to get in touch with decision makers. So I'm trying to make a point to do that now.
And Jake, since you have the platform, let me ask the question. You can give us a quick answer. What do you do at smallbusinessmakeover.com?
So I do website design. It picks up outdated websites and make them modern and compelling and Google friendly and phone friendly and all of the sorts of stuff that a website needs to be, so that everybody that goes to, everybody's doing all these online networking meetings nowadays, you can convert a higher percentage of the people you actually meet at these networking meetings into clients, because the very first thing that a prospect does after they meet is they go to your website to learn more about you. And if your website is not compelling, or it looks a little bit sloppy and looks like you're not dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and that's a direct reflection upon your business, and you may lose that prospect before you ever even knew you had them. I've done websites for people in the therapy business. I've done websites for people in the real estate business, and everything in between, magicians, restaurants, you name it, I've done it. So in a nutshell, fixing up outdated websites and making them modern, compelling, and Google friendly.
Great. Thank you, Jake. Does anybody else want to jump in and ask a question? Do you want me to prompt with a question? I can do that. Okay, then let's do that. What do you find is your biggest struggle with pivoting your business? I can answer that by saying I think that I was overwhelmed by the enormity of the change. So that to me was the biggest struggle. So I would say I myself was the struggle and the roadblock, because I was thinking about it from I have a pot of stew in front of me, instead of compartmentalizing the pieces that I needed to do. I actually looked at it as a huge, gigantic issue, instead of sort of carving it out as smaller pieces that were chewable, right? Not to, to keep with the food related puns, but I tried to make it easier for myself to be able to bite and chew off of those pieces and get stuff done. So that really was my biggest struggle, was me. I was my biggest roadblock, which I don't know if we'd find that maybe you all can at some point attest to the fact that you are your own roadblock, right? Because you need to get past what it is and start to accept that change before you can start to build that plan and figure out what your next step is. I don't know if anybody wants to jump in.
I can jump in, Dawn. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that my biggest struggle, and I have a feeling that there'll be a lot of people on this call that kind of nod their heads or can relate to it. As entrepreneurs, we don't typically work 9 to 5 jobs, right? We work all day, all night. We're up early. For me, I'm reading books in the evening. I'm taking notes on my phone. Things come to me randomly and I write them down so I can get to them at another time and bring an idea to fruition. I think for me, the biggest struggle has been being able to find time to do the pivoting part, right? Because for therapy, at least for my personal caseload of clients, everybody has continued in therapy. So not only have and I'm not complaining, right? This is a blessing, and it's a blessing for me, thank goodness, that I can keep working. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, because I'm still seeing clients full time. Now I need to also pivot the business. So I think the biggest challenge that I've experienced is really a time management issue, which is finding time to still deliver the quality service to my clients in their sessions every day. And then also kind of earmarking time in the evenings to be developing the programs that we need for frontline workers, or, working with small business owners who are struggling and developing new services that way. So, and maybe like many of you, I have 2 small kids, one who is in kindergarten and doing distance learning, and tagging in and tagging out with my husband on who's going to work and who's going to be with the kids. That has definitely been a struggle, like a time management struggle. So I assume a lot of people are also dealing with similar things. But again, to just go back to the entrepreneurial spirit, most of us are used to finding creative times and creative ways to work on our businesses, even if that means, in the evening and not at traditional hours like, some other people are used to. So I'd say time management has been the biggest challenge.
Lisa, did
Yeah,
you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think to build on what Talia said, we, as entrepreneurs, we're always running in 9 different directions. I think to have so much time was so challenging for me, because it's like, okay, well, now I have all the time in the world. I've always wanted all the time in the world, but I just finished my entire day by 10 a.m. So it was hard for me to kind of understand that, to pace myself, to actually pepper in some time for myself, which I think, like Talia, I think what you do is so necessary right now for people. I think the mental health, community are real heroes coming out of this, because I think it is a mental shift more than anything else, is getting your brain wrapped around the fact that you have so much time, you have no one watching you. You really go back to the fundamentals of being an entrepreneur and how you're going to press through. Also having this 800-pound gorilla that you have to wear a mask when you go outside, you might get sick. I mean, that in and of itself is tough on your mind. So I think from an all-encompassing perspective, it was just kind of understanding this is the new normal. This is all the time you have, and you probably have I think in the beginning we all thought we were going to be inside for like 2 weeks. I remember buying enough food for 2 weeks and being like, oh, we'll be out of this in 2 weeks, no big deal. And then they just kept moving that goalpost, and mentally that was a lot. I mean, I'm sure for all of us, like, okay, 2 more weeks of this, like, I think all of us as entrepreneurs, the reason we did this, the reason we decided to, go straight in the fork in the road instead of doing a 9 to 5 is because we love what we do. And so I think it's been hard for every entrepreneur that I've spoken to, as far as getting your brain wrapped around the fact that, like, okay, we're going back to zero now. Like, it's time to kind of understand that this is the new normal and you have a lot of time to do what you need to do.
Adam, Ed, any comments?
I think most of what I would say has been said.
I think. Are we both talking?
I think
Okay.
you are.
Go ahead.
Ed, do you want to start?
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add. I would say that there's definitely a challenge when it comes to routine right now, because we really don't have to show up somewhere. I mean, some of us do, but some of us don't have to show up somewhere like we normally are expected to. Whether it's being at your store for opening or being at the office where other people are expecting you, because now, I'm mainly the only one at the office. There's really nobody else here. So the routine and just staying true to your routine is a challenge, but I think it's super important if you want to be as productive as possible.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Ed. When this began in the middle of March, it felt like you're taking time off from work, but still working at home. Almost like a working vacation that you felt like, okay, I'm going to give myself a break for a week. I'll walk around in my shorts and flip flops, and I'll do a little work here and there, and then I'll do some things in the kitchen and so on. But I think after that first week or two of understanding what this meant, I think it was important, at least for me, to start a scheduled life, 7 days a week, every hour, just to figure it out. What am I doing? What time am I getting up? What's my, make the bed, take a shower, get dressed, do the things you need to do, and function that way. And you discipline yourself to do it, and you schedule yourself. I had some friends that were, every night it was cocktail hour. And so I said, well, that sounds like fun on a vacation, but right now I'm going to do what I do like I would. So my weeks are spent doing work, and, the weekend, sure, sit back and, enjoy the weekend a little bit. But, that time structure became really critical in the beginning of this. Otherwise, I think it would have been too unaccountable. You're just doing whatever you feel like doing in the moment. So time management is important. It's hard, but it's important. Once you get it down, I think you find at the end of the day, I don't know about any of you, but all this virtual stuff, by the end of the day, I've lost my voice. And Talia, you speak to clients all day. You at like 6 o'clock, you're hoarse. And somebody said to me, "Are you getting sick?" I said, "No, I'm not sick, but I'm sick." I'm feeling the strain of all this talking and the other thing I think, and I don't know about any of you, but like the time spent commuting or walking or getting somewhere or in your car or on a train or whatever you do, that time is gone, and I see that the time is now being used toward other things that help my business, other things that help my clients. So it's kind of, my office is in Lower Manhattan, so I'm grateful that, I'm not spending the time in and out of the PATH train, and I'm able to sit here and get more done. So I think it's, there are, like, Lisa made a point about, it's a terrible thing that's going on. It's a terrible crisis, but there's other things you got to look at. You do have to look at positive things. You do have to acknowledge the things that are good, that are working, that are optimistic, and you spend a little time thinking about that, and it takes away some of the stress and the pain of, the other parts of this that are sad and bring you down. So that helps me.
And I can definitely echo the routine piece is really very important, right? So your routine may be very different. I, was never a morning person. and I'm not going to share any more information about myself personally, but I was never really a morning person. And then I decided later on in life that I was going to be a baker and have a bakery, which is a morning job, right? So I conditioned myself to wake up at a certain hour and go to sleep very early and so on and so on. And you know what? I stayed up maybe a couple of nights, handful late, but I still got myself back to that routine. And to Adam's point, even though I may not physically be leaving the house to open up a shop, I still follow that same routine. I still, get up at the same time, around about, feed the dogs, get dressed. And there were a couple of days, maybe the first 2 weeks, that I hung around in my PJs, which was the time that I was crying a lot. But then I decided, all right, I got to get back to that routine, and the routine and the structure for me, right? And that may not necessarily work for everybody, but that definitely worked for me, to be able to feel like there was some sort of a glimmer of normal, right? That allowed me to sort of plan what my day was going to be and try to be as productive as possible, and be positive and stay positive. But when the dark sort of negative things bubbled up, sort of work through those, acknowledge the fact that you're feeling, crappy, pardon my French, that day, and then say, okay, well, why do I feel that way? Am I pushing myself out of that comfort zone? But the routine for me was really something that is really very important, because it allows me to still feel like I'm, have something that's normal, and make me feel more productive. So I don't know if anybody else has any other comments. We've got some questions that are coming in via the chat. So I'm gonna pop to that. So has anybody learned any new skills during this reset time?
Can you repeat that, Dawn? It skipped a little bit.
Has anybody learned any new skills during this time? Other than just acknowledging time management and acknowledging routine and acknowledging your emotions and some, new technology that's out there, any new skills, anything else? Yes.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me here, my first time. So I'm Chisa, owner of Season, and I do sell handmade soap and skin butter and CBD product. So what I learned for this difficult time is, how can I be a part of the community? How can I help? And by helping myself. So that's kind of, I have to be creative, because I start doing this business to helping the women. Prior to, I had my company in fashion industry. So I've been seeing suffering the women so much. So that's how I start making soap to ease, promoting self-love for women. Therefore, this difficult time, I was thinking, how can I help? So that was kind of a great opportunity to reaching out to other small business owners, like organization, to how can I help? As small as it is, like my little voice was saying, oh, like, I'm small, how can I help? But that's out of comfort zone to do something for the community. So that's kind of break off. So that was great thing for myself to just, okay, I can be being myself in this worrying about me. I had to worry for the community and the step out from my comfort zone. So that was a biggest thing I learned, and I'm still learning. But thank you.
No, thank you. To jump on some of the comments that you've made, helping others in turn does help yourself, right? So it teaches you a lot about, your level of compassion and allowing yourself, as you say, to put yourself out of that comfort zone where you're really asking that other person, how can I help you? And that opens up then possible opportunities for you to be able to grow your business and you yourself grow, because you're allowing that dynamic with that other individual. Hopefully, again, that grows within the community. But yeah, sometimes it's difficult to allow yourself the time to be able to put yourself out there and really ask somebody else, hey, how can I really help you? And hopefully in turn that brings you obviously a sense of fulfillment, but that helps you as well.
One of the, when she was speaking, the first thing I thought of were the first responders. Nobody needs to feel, a little bit more self-care than them. I don't know if you've considered this or if it's in the, your budget, but if you maybe made like smaller versions of your soaps and drop them off in the various ERs, like Hoboken ER or Jersey City, I'm sure they would really appreciate it. I know a lot of people are sending food, but that's something that, they go home and they're probably exhausted. A little self-care, I think, would go a long way. I don't know if you've considered that yet or not.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I work with the flag organization. I donate the skin butter for their dry hands. So I
That's
did
awesome.
that, and then I'm trying to continue to do more. But thank you for the idea.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, Maria.
Sorry, I had to take myself off mute. So I just wanted to, that is a great story. I could use some hand lotion for my hands as well. So she should let us know in a chat box how to get some hand lotion. That's number one. Number two, I have been learning how to live stream over the past few weeks. As you know, everything's on live stream. And when you're a chamber, you can't go dark. You have to continue to have events like the one this morning. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And this is the first event that we're actually live streaming to YouTube, the Hoboken Facebook page, and the Hudson County Facebook page, all at the same time. And it took like 2 weeks for me to figure out how to do this using Zoom, getting another platform that we had to purchase and how do I use it, and all these different things that I never knew about video encoders and different software and how they work together. But hopefully this is going to have a big payoff when we do our Hudson Gives next week, which is, we were planning to have some live events and now we can't. But fortunately, I think it actually is all going to work out. I think a lot of the panelists have already said this, that you have to look at the opportunities here, and our Hudson Gives is meant to be an online event. And so live streaming online actually is quite serendipitous. And we should be able, hopefully, to grow our audience. And then we're also learning, or trying to learn how to do some other things for our small businesses and sort of grow our opportunities online as well. So I think we may become a chamber that does a lot more online even after this is all over. So it's been challenging though, but good.
And let me just jump in and say thank you to Maria and the Hudson County Chamber for being able to provide these platforms and online, and her tireless effort and research to try to advance the recording and live streaming and becoming the real technical director and producer for all of these events now, given that this is the world that we're living in. So thank you again. If I didn't start off by saying it, I apologize. So thank you to Maria for providing this platform for everybody. So I know that Erin and I know that Marie, obviously, in addition to everybody else whose business is really one-on-one or having individual sessions or having it be hands-on. Marie, if I can ask you to jump in, how have you, been using this time as the reset or learning anything new? You're a fabulous photographer. If folks don't know who Marie Papp is, she's wonderful. And she takes beautiful pictures and headshots. So I know that you're probably feeling this strain.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, yeah, this has been a really hard time for me because I'm such an extrovert and I love being around people, and I live alone and I'm alone. And so the aloneness has been exponentially magnified to like crazy. So that has been hard, very hard to deal with. And then my dad got really sick, almost died, like, and I'm dealing with all of this in the middle of this, and there's no one around. So that being said, no, he's doing better, but it was really hard to focus when you've got all these things coming at you, and you're trying to stay healthy, and you live in a building with 400 people living on top of each other, and people have the virus in the building. So it's been a lot. So recently what I've had to sort of say to myself is, and I know this the whole time, I was like, you got to use this time better. You got to use this time. It's like, but at the same time, I'm processing these emotions, and I was pretty depressed, and you got to feel your feelings because you just got to do it. And it was hard, so now I'm like, okay, let's pretend that everything's going to open up in 2 weeks. I literally have to say that to myself. It's like, all right, what can you get done? And so what I've been doing is I've living in this apartment for 30 years. And so I'm really like trying to purge as much here, learning more about the video on the platforms, and I'll be learning more about video, doing that, reaching out to my clients. Yeah, it's really hard to do a headshot, virtually. You can actually, there's a way to actually do it, but it's not the kind of experience that, usually I love to do and stuff like that. But just, I'm enjoying the quietness of Hoboken, I have to say that I enjoy. But I'm looking forward to learning more, doing some stuff with video, and really working on the back end of the business, getting things in a much better system. I know it's a good time to use the time, but again, like I said, I feel like if it wasn't so disconnected, it would have been easier for me to get more stuff done, and with all the other stuff going on. So I'm trying not to be too hard on myself, but I feel like, okay, you got to get more done, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Good. Thank you, Marie. Thank you. And I'm happy that your dad is feeling better. We want to jump on, I'd like to see if we can elaborate a little bit more on the point about feeling your feelings. So looking at the time, we have Talia and Ed for about another 7 minutes. They're rolling off around 10 o'clock. So if I could, let's take the point about feeling your feelings and working through that. And Talia, if we could maybe have you comment a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Marie, also so sorry to hear that your dad was sick. I'm glad he's feeling better. And myself, I've had a couple of family crises happen during this quarantine, all while still having to deliver the quality of services and therapy into my business. And I can empathize with the challenge. To the point about feeling your feelings, most of us, when we're stressed out, or we're, sometimes I refer to it as being hijacked by our emotions, where your emotion is driving the car and you are not. That's a moment when it's really, really important not to suppress. I think as business owners, a lot of times we have kind of a one-track mind on the business. We got to do this, we got to do that. Like Lisa said before, we're running in 10 different directions all at once. We get burnt out. Entrepreneurs absolutely get burnt out. And so self-care and feeling our feelings is a really, really important part of the process, not just in the day-to-day, being able to think clearly and execute our goals and work towards long-term goals, but also to be able to last, right? Years, decades is what we're all hoping for, to be able to be in our businesses and do the thing that we love to do for the long haul. So self-care is a really, really important part of that. Getting outside, getting fresh air, connecting with people. And Maria was going to say to you, things like this are really helpful in terms of being professionally connected. And I know I have kind of tapped into my professional social work network more so than I ever have since the day I joined it a decade ago. Now I'm participating in some of the chat rooms. I'm in contact with colleagues that are all over the country who are offering these services to frontline healthcare workers. So I'm trying to take some great wisdom and knowledge from what they've already created over the past several weeks and kind of piggyback on that and bring that now to our community in Hudson County. So I've found that to be tremendously helpful, both professionally as well as personally. And, if anybody is really struggling with their emotions, one of the best things, honestly, one of the best things that you can do that's foundational is sleep. And, we are historically, I think, a group of people who will sacrifice sleep in order to get a particular job done or a task completed. And it actually really backfires. In some of the research that they've done on teenagers who are not getting enough sleep, you can have an 8th or 9th grader who is sleep deprived, whose brain is actually functioning at a 4th grade level, simply due to sleep deprivation, which is kind of a wild fact to look at. And the impact happens on us too as adults. Your brain is not going to be working in the efficient, productive way that it should be if it's sluggish. And so, I would encourage everybody on this call, every entrepreneur that I work with, to make sure that you're getting your sleep, stick to your routine. I think before, I forget who was saying it, Adam maybe, about people having happy hours, and I have the house party app and I'm constantly getting that notification, somebody's in the house, and you have to look at that stuff and put it aside in some ways, right? Engage a little bit, maybe on the weekends. We still obviously all enjoy our time off, but to be able to set some boundaries for yourself and create a structure, consistent and repetitive schedule for yourself that can be that grounding force. When you emotionally start to get very overwhelmed, your routine is actually what grounds you and helps you kind of get back into rational thought and out of the hijacked emotional brain that we can sometimes find ourselves in these days. That would be, Dawn, that would be my best advice to all of us, myself included.
Thank you, Talia. Thank you. Ed, any other comments? I know you guys are rolling off soon. Is there anything else that you want to add to the group?
No, I mean, just to kind of echo what Talia said, I did listen to a podcast recently. A buddy of mine runs he's a holistic doctor out in California. He runs a podcast called Heal Thyself. And there was an episode with a sleep expert on there. And I was pretty fascinated by some of the things I learned, and sleep is super important. And what's sad is that with today's day and age, it's very popular for entrepreneurs and CEOs to talk about how little they sleep, 3-4 hours a night. And that's supposed to be like the new thing, just work your ass off and don't sleep. And all the research points to how terrible that is for you, for your longevity. You don't live as long if you don't sleep as long. And there's a lot of studies that can show that. So I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but I just want to echo what Talia said. Also, Jake, I see you have some really nice guitars back there. I'd appreciate some music on my way out of the meeting, please. Maybe some background music. And by the way, guitar lessons online could be a cool little side hustle for you as well. But just a few closing words. I just want to thank you guys for having me. Always glad to be part of these. Always glad to be involved in the chamber. And I think that we're all doing our best to help each other push through this. And again, from what I said from the beginning, stay positive and things will be back to normal. We're all going to get through it.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. Talia, anything else before you pop off?
Nothing other than to just say that, we didn't start our own businesses and leave corporate America or whatever opportunities we had in that direction because we are afraid, right? If anything, I think we are a group of extremely brave, self-disciplined and motivated people that are highly, highly determined and goal-oriented. So I'm saying it really to remind all of us that, we don't do this for nothing. We're in this because we know that we can do hard things, and to keep reminding yourself of that every day, every week, because we didn't do this because it's hard. We knew that it was hard going into it. And we expect to have hard times when we're an entrepreneur, and this is one of them. And I think in some ways the challenges are what help us get to those next levels of entrepreneurship and business development. And I'm excited to support all of us and be here and watch all of us come through the other side. So I just hope everybody reminds themselves of that as we go through this difficult time.
Thank you, Talia. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Thanks. Okay, so let me just ask the group. Is everybody a Hoboken-based business? You can raise your hand if you are. Right? No. Okay, Barbara, right. You said you moved to Rutherford. So I want to ask for those who are Hoboken-based businesses. So Max, if maybe you can, pop off of mute, and Erin and Nicole, you as well. How has the information that you've received from the administration and the text messages and the emails, et cetera, how have you felt that information has been beneficial? Because we here as the chamber are advocates for you, the businesses, regardless of whether or not you actually have a physical space in Hoboken, or you're, currently virtually working or have always worked virtually in Hoboken, and maybe not necessarily have had a physical brick and mortar. But how have you felt, if at all, the information that you've received from the administration has been beneficial or not beneficial? So yes, Marie.
When you say administration, are you talking about Mayor Bala's daily emails?
Yes, and also what we've been hearing from, obviously, yes, everybody has been hearing what Governor Murphy has been saying, but specifically, yes, from Mayor Bala, yes.
Okay. I mean, it's good to have that email, but then I'm starting to wonder at this point, how are they deciding what businesses can actually kind of come back? You know what I mean? I really, it hasn't been that specific. I've been trying to find that, but I haven't really seen that much about it. Have you?
No, I have not either. So, for me, because I'm physically not in Hoboken anymore,
Right.
I've actually been using Hoboken as a guideline for me and how I want to start opening up my business. So I live in Cliffside Park. We have not been given the same stream of information that you all are receiving.
Okay.
I still get the text messages and I still get the emails. So I'm sort of basing what I do and my gradual quote unquote opening or change to my business. I'm using Hoboken as sort of like my set example.
So this morning I saw something yesterday and today, something about there's a list of businesses that are open, or it has like 140 some businesses, and there's like a chart and it says the business, the hours, or what they're open, and you can sort of add to there. But it seems like most of the businesses are like closed except for the restaurants. Like I could list my business, but then says I'm not open. And it's like, I'm trying to decide, well, at what point can I actually open? Because I can do shoots outside with people
6 feet away from you, right?
I can. So, I mean, I can do it, and then what's going to happen, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, yeah, there's that. And even if I was in my studio when I do headshots, I'm 10 feet away easily. And, what's it? I don't know. I feel like, how can I find out about that? Because, yeah.
Marie?
Yes?
So there's the option to have that you're open for like virtual services. So with my business, that's how we're able to say, hey, we're typically one-on-one, face-to-face a lot of the time, right. But now we're at least able to see people virtually. And so although our hours are like much less and we see far fewer clients, we are still open for business, just not how we typically are.
What do you do?
And Erin, what's your business?
My business is Wellness Lab. So I'm a massage therapist. We also have a psychiatrist, physical therapy, like a variety of wellness services. While, some of them can be done all virtually, I myself am a massage therapist. So I'm having to pivot to try to like teach people how to either massage themselves or their partners. But a lot of my clients are just like, let me know when you're open.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, what do I do in the meantime?
Dawn, it's Maria. If I can just jump in for a second.
Yeah, please.
So I know at the state level, because we've been working with the New Jersey Business and Industry Association as part of this really large coalition of more than 100 organizations, and over the weekend did write a letter that I was going to publish today to the members, sort of providing some guidance around what businesses need to open. And I know that in New York, they've started to talk about what a phased opening looks like. I would imagine they're going to do that here in New Jersey as well, because Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania are all coordinating. But I do think that regardless of what comes out from the state, there is this local piece that needs to be implemented. So I do think some of this feedback we can take, in a very constructive manner back to Mayor Bala, just to make sure that people do have some sense of, where does my business fit into this as the phased opening rolls out? What kind of precautions do I have to take? But if I'm a headshot photographer and I am 10 feet and I'm wearing a mask, and, is it okay for me to start opening up again? I think that these are the types of questions that if there's guidance on a local level that can help with this, that's important. I also do think that, a lot of businesses may decide that they want to stay virtual for a while because they are concerned for their own safety or the safety of their employees. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Marie?
So yeah, even if my business opens, at this point, it's honestly contingent about people's hair. So until they go and get their hair done, guys and girls. So, look at these roots. Okay, so they're not going to want to have their photo taken, because I remember the week right when it was going to close. It was been the day before. The one guy goes, "Oh, I wasn't able to get a haircut," and then they had just shut it down. I was like, and that's a guy. He's like, "I wanted to get my haircut." So now I reached out to him. He's like, "Yeah, with 2 months of growth now, it's like so." Even these other portraits, I'm just saying, and between that and the events aren't going to happen for a while. So yeah, it's hard to sleep sometimes. I know sleep is important, but let me tell you, yeah. So.
Erin, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, so as far as Mayor Bala's updates, I've found them extremely helpful, both with trying to keep the business community connected and also like businesses to consumers. But I actually live in Union City, and I find that the Hoboken updates are they make me feel like I'm connected, right, for lack of a better word. And I get a lot more information from the Hoboken updates than I do from Union City. And Union City right now is, as far as I know, just relying on voicemails. So there's not like a link that I can go to find out more. Like I go to the city's website and there's no real update on positive cases or what they're going to be doing about it, or if you're able to get tested without symptoms,
right,
that type of thing. So it's nice to get the updates from Hoboken so I can gauge a little bit what might happen with my business.
Max, how are you feeling about the updates, and how is that affecting you or helping you?
Yeah, they're not really doing anything for me. There's just not any information there. And it's understandable. Like, look, at the end of last week, Governor Murphy said the schools will stay closed for the rest of the year. And it's like, okay, that's at least something. It's disappointing information, but now I know, okay, I can tell my kid, and plan accordingly. Still planning for the summer. Have no idea what's going to be opened, what's going to be allowed for, my kid, let alone, for my business. We're in a fortunate position where we're able to sustain things through virtual sessions as well as through, shipping, selling online or whatever. So it's difficult, but, we're going to survive. And I find the frustration in this these decisions are not being driven. This is totally, opinion, I guess you could say, but it's not being driven by science. It's being driven by feelings. Like, it seems to me like this is not what they thought it was going to be 3 months ago. Almost, like 60% of the deaths across the country are in nursing homes. So there is a vulnerable population. It is deadly. Kids, a study came out saying kids can't pass it and that they're very resistant to getting it. But we're shutting down the schools for the year. So it's like, okay, tell me what the rules are and I will find a way to play within them. And there's no answers as to what the rules are going to be yet.
If I can jump in here, I think, I'm feeling the same things you are. I do think, and I think, somebody had to basically say it to me to make me hear it, but I don't think a lot of people know. Like, I think so much of this is unknown that it's, I think from their perspective, and this is, politics and whatever aside, from a medical perspective, I've actually really enjoyed the updates, the daily emails that the Mayor Ball has been sending out. I'm shocked by the lower numbers in Hoboken. I think I was prepared for that to be much higher and mimicking New York. Mm-hmm. And as a small business owner, I'm with you. I mean, I think there's a lot of unknown. I just think, and that's probably the most scary thing about all this is I don't think anybody knows. I don't think they can plan this far ahead for anything. And I think that's pretty, it's evident in the sense that like every 2 weeks that goalpost moves. So that to me has been very overwhelming in the sense that, I think all of us just as a society kind of put our faith in our leaders. And to me, and again, this is, I'm not being combative in any way. I'm shocked at how well it's gone here. But to your point, I share the frustration in that what is next? What's the next plan? I don't know that they know. And I don't know that that's, anything on an incompetency thing. I think this has been changing so much. To your point, I remember on the first week of March, I was boarding a plane for a conference and I went to Ace Hardware to buy masks. And the guy at Ace Hardware was like, they don't do anything. Don't buy them. And I was like, okay. And I got on the plane without a mask and now I can't leave my house without one. So I think there's so much, from a top down, macro perspective, there's been so much learning going on as we go, which I think is probably the most terrifying of all this.
Yeah, if I can just jump in, I think that those are like excellent points. And, Hoboken was one of the first cities. And for a city this size to have taken some of the steps that Mayor Bala did very early on was actually really incredibly impressive. And I think that's why you're seeing the numbers have been so low here. But I think it's really good to point out, I think those were excellent points, that this has been such an event where things are changing daily. There's new information emerging daily. And I really do think that our elected officials are doing the very best they can on sort of the local and state levels to keep up with information and to push out as much information and to have the conversation going two-way. I don't listen to Governor Cuomo and Governor Murphy every single day, but I was struck by Governor Cuomo yesterday who said, there are many times people ask me questions and I say, I just don't know. I just don't know the answer. And that is to me, like, I think the first time I've ever publicly heard an elected official, especially a governor of the state of New York, say, I don't know. There are times I simply just don't know the answer. And I think that was actually very encouraging that he's been so transparent and very authentic about what he knows and doesn't know. And that they're all with the rest of us trying to figure out the best way forward. But I hear some of the commentary here. I have been taking notes, so thank you.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, I think what's, like you said, Maria, I think Mayor Bala has done a great job out of the gate to put in measures that were, necessary. He saw them a few days earlier than some other leaders did. But I also think that as individual business owners, whatever your business might be, that it's important to start thinking about how would you go forward in a safe way. Even if he said tomorrow or Monday, everything's open. It's less to do with what the mayor is going to tell us, and it's more to do with how we're going to move forward. Because at the end of it all, the consumer is going to make the final decision whether or not to engage with our business, whatever business that is. So the better prepared we are to welcome in a consumer to what we do. So in Marie's case, you know, already having developed what that's going to look like for you to do your photography in a safe way for your clients, and being able to present that is important, because we're all consumers. Everybody on this call is a consumer. So you're going to make your own choices as to what you want to do once this is lifted, or once they open up the world again, whether it's an airplane or it's a small business on Washington Street. So you as the consumer will make the final decision whether the economy is going to get back to normal, because without the consumers doing what they need to do, the economy will never get back to normal. So I think the business owners, you know, and you can look at some of the big companies like Starbucks, they're putting in all sorts of measures to make their business function with the new normal. So that, you know, I think 85% of Starbucks are going back online this month. So, you know, I think we all on the call here have to think internally about what we do, how we're going to engage with the consumer, and make them comfortable to do business again, regardless of where the state and the city decide to you know, to do things. And the other thing I'll add to this is that, you know, for those of you in Hoboken, you've seen the warm, sunny weekend, and everybody was out and about, some with a mask, some without a mask, some social distancing, some not social distancing. You know, I don't think we're really going to be able to count on each individual to do the right thing always. Some will do the right thing and use good judgment, others not as much. So individually as a business owner, we're going to have to set the standards and set the rules for, if I'm going to engage with you, you will have a mask on, you will be distant, you will, you know, follow the rules of my business, you know, and not just, you know, run amok.
Yeah, those are, you make some excellent points, Adam. I completely agree with you that it is going to be incumbent on businesses. In fact, I think it was right after they said you needed a mask in New York, I went to a Quick Check here in New Jersey, and there were already signs at the Quick Check that you couldn't come into the Quick Check without a face mask. And one of the workers there actually stopped a young man from coming into the store because he didn't have one on. And I was very impressed with that. And I think businesses, especially small businesses, are going to have to take that lead in setting the standard. I totally agree with you. And I do think that, so what I'm hearing is that we're going to need some very clear parameters sort of at the macro level. And then at a local level, businesses are going to have to make sure that they do the right thing within those parameters, but also maybe go a step further to ensure that their customers and their workers are safe. And I'm also wondering, you know, part of what we were advocating at the state level is that businesses may need some additional funding if they need to make adjustments to their stores and other facilities. So there's a long road ahead, because I think I don't want to get into a discussion about the PPP, because we all know, many of us, how challenging to roll out that program was, but I think there's a lot more challenges ahead. But I hear the feedback, and these are great points, so thank you.
Max, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing, which is, yes, the customers will set the tone. I mean, Hoboken definitely, as compared to other municipalities in the area, is much more concerned about, you know, public spaces than in other areas, about the spread. And that's good. You know, yes, as a business, we have to space people out more. We have to set the rules. But my frustration is really, when this started, we were told it was to bend the curve, to keep the medical system from being overwhelmed. And it seems like we've done that. The medical ship left New York City, but wasn't it supposed to, because it lacked patience? Wasn't the whole idea of getting the medical infrastructure in place so that we could reopen? There are some people who are going to get this virus and they're going to die. There are some people who are going to get this virus, nothing's going to happen. What matters is the people who are going to get this virus. And if they get the right medical attention, they'll survive. That was why we shut down. We seem to have gotten the medical staff in place, and now we're just going to be shut down forever. Sweden never shut down. Their death rate is the same as their neighbors in Norway and Scandinavia. So the fact that we're not hearing from our leaders why we're still shut down, what is the goal? Because there will be a second wave of this when we reopen. There's no question about that. There will be an increase of deaths when we reopen society. And so that our leaders are saying if one person dies is one person too many, to me, that's not leadership. You know, you can get rid of cars by saying, you know, if we save one life by getting rid of cars, then it's worth it. So that's my frustration. That to me, you're saying you see, you know, great leadership from them. I'm not seeing any leadership. I'm seeing them just catering to making people feel safe, not saying, look, this is going to be difficult. We're going to do this and get through this. We're going to be responsible. I'm not seeing that from the leaders.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, you know, Max, thank you for those comments. And what we can try to do is take the feedback from the group to see how we can get more clarity to help you be able to get those questions answered. Hopefully, mitigate those frustrations that you have, and help you to start to build the plan to reopening your businesses, regardless of whatever that phased approach is. I wish that I had personally more answers to even be able to share with the group today, or had some sort of enlightenment on, oh yeah, this is actually all going to be fine. And I'm in a complete agreement with you that there is definitely going to be a second wave of this, and that I'm personally planning for my business and my family and my parents who are elderly, and we have them sort of locked up and separated from my sister and I, that we're going to go through this for the rest of the year. So my plan is the next couple of months, the rest of the year, and then even trying to plan myself out to 2021. So anything that we can do to try to help ease those frustrations for you and get you some answers and some clarity, we will do our best to absolutely do that. One thing that I wanted to do is talk just a little bit more about all of the programs, and my personal interaction with trying to apply for the PPP and SBA grants and loans, et cetera. We're not going to get into all of that right now, but I do would love to be able to make sure that I direct everybody over to the Hudson County Chamber website that has a fabulously updated resource, COVID-19 resource page, which does show all of the links. There are also a ton of emails and newsletters that are sent out at the chamber level to the members. I would always encourage everybody to be able to at least sign up to receive the newsletters from the chamber, and look at that information. That hopefully that'll help you. I hope that everybody has been able to apply for something. I hope that everybody has started to get funding to some extent, whether that's the PPP or SBA grant loan, you know, et cetera, et cetera. If anybody really has some questions specifically regarding those links and programs and struggles or challenges in trying to fill out the forms, please always feel free to send me an email. My email is dpascale@hudsonchamber.org, and I'd be more than happy to reply back to you, letting you know some of the things that I've done and applied for, and try to help you as much as I can. So I at least wanted to put that out there about the state resources and the information that's been made available to us. So we are about halfway through the second hour. We have this time and forum together for another half hour until 11 o'clock, but I'm really going to turn it over to you. I'm not going to prompt any more questions. If there's any more questions or items or topics or subjects that we have not touched on, I'm going to leave it to you all to raise your hand and ask a question. Obviously, that'll dictate the flow of the rest of the conversation. If you don't have any more questions, we can always end early. Totally open to that too. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Anybody have any other questions that they want to ask the group? Yeah, Marie, go. You're on mute. No, you're on mute. Go.
Okay, I know you spoke about the link, but just a quick SBA, just a quick question. Because there's no communication from SBA. I got $1,000, but it's like, there was just something put into my account that I had to figure out what the heck is this, right? And then I've heard nothing. So it was just, it was $1,000, there's nothing. Has anybody know anything else? Like, what has your experience been? That's what I wanted to know.
So I applied for the grant and the loan. I literally, set my alarm, and at 8:58 in the morning that Friday, when we were allowed to reply, I was sitting there like this at the ready waiting. I have also received zero information, meaning my form or my application was submitted. I got nothing back that said that I would be funded, if there was questions about funding, if there was any more information that was missing, etc. I actually did go out the other day to try to find at least a contact, email, phone number, et cetera, to try to reach someone. And that is, it's a fruitless mission to try to get some information from them.
Okay. Are you talking about the one grant that was between $1,000 and $5,000? That grant? Okay, so I have some info on that.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you where to go, and I know 2 people that got the grant. I still have it, and I had my application in at 9:06, and I keep checking. There's a way you can check, and you can see every business that got money, when they got the money, and how much the amount is. And at this point in time, they've already given away at least $3.5 million, and there's I have to go find that link and how you can do it. I even called them on the phone. So I was able to get through, but they're still saying, well, they're still looking at the application. Well, mine was like application 800. Are you still looking at it? I don't know. So that's one thing. The SBA disaster loan thing. Yeah, like I said, I got the $1,000, but there's no follow-up, no communication, no nothing. And I had called them 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, and I was number 890. It took 45 minutes for them to get on the phone, and they said, yeah, we got your app, and that's all we can tell you, like nothing. Okay. So I have it's like, I feel like we're in the dark with the SBA. That other grant between 1 and 5,000, that's going to run out, and I don't know what they base it on. It just seems weird, but you can see, if I can send you.
Are you talking about the NJEDA? I just want to be clear which programs we're talking about.
That grant that's between $1,000 and $5,000.
That's the NJEDA.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, my understanding is they did run out of money, but they were going to continue to look for private sourcing, right, to continue funding it. But okay, thank you. Just wanted to be clear.
And Marie, if you could send me an email with that information on how to look up, that's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to contact if you don't get it. It's only like, we'll contact you if we have a question or whatever. So I don't think I'm going to get anything at this point, because who knows, but.
Has anybody considered filing for unemployment? Because there is a section that's now called PUA, and the PUA is designed for those who are self-employed. So just to give you a little 2-second background about that piece, I applied for unemployment as quickly as I possibly could on March 22nd, to be exact. They meaning the unemployment Department of Labor, right? They did not have their form and/or instructions created specifically designed for those who are self-employed at mid to late March. They changed it again and updated it by April. So this has been basically an almost 2-month process in trying to figure out whether or not a self-employed business owner could get some sort of unemployment. The PUA piece is designed for you to enter your employer, which is really your own company, as the employer that you're employed with, right? And then from there, they should be able to get back to you, hopefully, to make that determination of providing you with $600. That's what that benefit rate is supposed to be, at least from what I've read. This is not the same as a W-2 that you would have received if you have a part-time job in addition to having your own business or something to that effect. When you're applying for unemployment, it's the PUA piece. So if you go out to the Department of Labor, they actually have updated it and they've updated their instructions. And I think that there was a little miscommunication and misunderstanding around whether or not you're considered a corporate officer, whether or not you own that business, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so if anybody has any other questions about that, I think that I've probably, hopefully at this point, tackled it correctly. And I think that I have received correspondence based on the 5 different notifications that I got that all said 5 different things, that I should be able to start getting funded at the $600 a week. So if anybody has not had the opportunity to apply, I would strongly suggest that you do, because you are greatly impacted by this whole thing. Even if you've started to do things virtually, and have started to sort of inch your way back, I think that if the aid is there, you should at least make yourself available to receive it if you can. So if anybody has any questions, I'm totally open to helping to answer those for you.
From my understanding and also speaking with my accountant, you can't both get funding from the PPP and the POA. I know for myself, I applied for unemployment mid-March and I've still been under on the pending status. So, and then I also applied for the PPP and it was basically, okay, which one's going to come through first?
So Erin, let me ask you a question, because what I was told by the banker, right, my banker, because I had to specifically go through the bank that holds my business account. There may have been other lenders like PayPal and Lendio and my payroll provider who have these third-party vendors that are also available to be able to provide you something for the PPP. But I was told that I needed to go to the bank who holds my business account. So question for you, are you on your own payroll? Do you take a draw? Do you take an equity draw? Or do you actually get a W-2 from your own business?
I'm a single member LLC, and I don't work through payroll.
Okay, all right. So I was told then that I could not get myself funded for the PPP to cover myself for payroll, but I could use it to pay my employees.
I just signed my promissory note from my bank to get the PPP funding.
Oh,
I'm just waiting on the money to come through.
Okay.
They changed it to where you can use 2019's tax return so that they could see your average income or like your net
Monthly
profit.
payroll, right? Oh, okay. Your net
Yeah, your net profit. So they use that to determine how much you would get for the quote unquote 2.5 months of pay.
Gotcha. Okay. So if anybody has any other questions regarding all of the programs and sort of some of the due diligence and work that we've all individually done, by all means, please reach out to me. Again, my email is dpascale@hudsonchamber.org, and I can either try to send you some information or links or direct you to the Hudson County resource page, or just give you some of the sort of dealings and things that I've done to try to, get some funding and get my business back up and running. So I want to just, again, ask everybody here, are there any other questions that you want to ask? Is there anything else that you want to convey to the group to get feedback? Any closing comments by anybody? We do have about another 25 minutes left of this forum. And again, we can always close early. So this is really your opportunity to ask another question while we're all together. Okay, so I take that as a no.
I'll just
yeah, Marie.
wait. Is it okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
go,
So Maria, now that the golf courses are open, you're not going to do the golf outing?
So right now, Governor Murphy did reopen golf courses, but the parameters and the restrictions on them are such that I don't think it makes any sense to run a golf outing to try to raise money. Like you can literally only have one golfer per golf cart, which means a foursome that would usually use two would now need to use four. The price increases. And of course, right now, I think, you know, it's a little difficult. I think it would be a difficult environment to get sponsors for. I don't know that a lot of folks would want to be out there seen golfing when there are all these critical needs not being met. I have a feeling we're not going to likely do the golf outing this year. And we'll have to revisit it next year. I don't even foresee doing it in the fall. You know, my board and I had been talking about possibly doing it in the fall. I don't think that's even going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see how quickly we can. I want to say I want to see how quickly we can get back to a new normal, but I'm not even. I don't know. I don't even think we can get back that quickly, like September. So.
Right, and then the second outbreak is supposed to happen in the fall. Like
exactly.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be a lot worse. If you
Yeah.
study the pandemic from, what is it, 1918 second wave was worse than 1917 based upon.
Yeah, and I think honestly,
who knows?
Optimism. Optimism.
We're not in Florida, so
You know what? I gotta tell you something.
the heat.
I'm, and this is just my own personal mental health. I'm really cutting back on the news stories that bring me down or make it feel like we're doomed and we're all going to be dead by next year. And I'm really focusing on the stories that are talking about the trials that are already in play, the amount of researchers involved around the world, the test trials. I mean, you got to look at, there's a lot of stuff being put into humans as we speak today that could be out there helping people. You know, my thought is, look, if I felt safe that should I catch the virus, my doctor will give me a prescription. I'll stay home for a few weeks. I'll get better. I won't go to a hospital. I'd feel more comfortable going into a business or going to a festival or going to a movie because I know if I get sick, there's a remedy. So I think we just need to have that available to reassure people. So who knows, maybe by the fall, there are remedies that are available to people who get sick, and folks will feel more comfortable going to an event or engaging. And I think that's going to mean a lot to people's, personal safety feelings. And I'm very optimistic. I am. I'm looking at this as, before the end of the year, we'll have at least some way of not dying.
Okay.
Well, and isn't that ultimately, I mean, we could get sick, but it's the ICU, it's the chance of dying. All of those are the things we're concerned about. If it was just getting sick and being in the house for a week and taking some medicine, we'd feel okay. I'll take the walk. I'll go into a business. I'll get a group of friends together for the holidays in the fall. I think that's what we need. We need that assurance that we're going to have something to fall back on. And then, so I have a question though. I mean, Dawn is the only one that sort of explained it, about planning your short-term for your business, your short-term, your rest of 2020 and 2021. Has anybody else kind of mentally or on paper laid out what they see their personal business doing for the rest of, let's say, this summer and then through the end of the year?
I mean, I know
thought into that.
I know for myself, I am a massage therapist, so I'm very labor oriented. So in the long term, I've always been looking to do more consultation based services. And this has kind of pushed me to look to that quicker. So that's why I actually applied for my master's, which is going to take longer than the next year, but I'm at least starting that now. And hopefully I can start integrating things into my practice that will help build that confidence for my clients so that I can really hit the ground running whenever I can.
Yeah, Barbara, absolutely.
I really see myself opening up into this out school program. I've also been working with a collaborator that actually Marie Papp had introduced me to about a year and a half ago, Dr. Charles Lowe, who is a classical piano teacher and music theory teacher. And I was hoping he could join us today, but he couldn't move any of his classes this morning. So he's still teaching online, but we've been working together. And if I can get, he wants his classical students to take singing with me because he feels that they will play the piano better if they learn singing lessons, because they will understand the melody better. And in order for me to put these academically oriented musical theater classes online for his parents, his students' parents to see, you know, he's thrilled. He just thinks this is the best way to reach them and show that what he believes about this can be true, and that I am going to come at it from a very highly level intellectual point of view. So I am keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that this will really take off. I also have, one of my students is also an international model, and we've been chatting back and forth. I never know what time zone she's in, but she's been starting to do interviews with authors. And she's read my book and she wants to do an interview with me about my book on her platform. And, you know, she's in Italy now, working in Milan. And I had put up some pictures of her on my Facebook page because I'd pulled them off of her mother's Facebook page right when Italy was in such a crisis. And I just felt I shouldn't put them on my site because it was too awful. But now I felt I could. She had actually been the face of the Milan Fashion Week. There are posters with just her on them that are, you know, in duplicate in train stations, and she's got quite a following. And if I can get my book and these courses promoted through her internationally, where I can teach the classes internationally, I think I'm in good shape. So hopefully that is where I'm headed. Keep your fingers crossed. Keep me in your prayers.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, so on behalf of the Chamber, Maria, our ex-co members, Talia and Ed, who have left us already, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. Hopefully that this was a nice, easy, relaxed forum for you to bring up your questions and concerns and struggles and frustrations. We will try our best to get you answers. Again, please feel free, anyone, to email me if you have an individual question. I will try my best to answer it myself, give you my personal experience with it, or hopefully be able to provide you with an answer and push you in the right direction to answer that fully for you. So thank you very much. We can do this again if you'd like. We can plan this in another maybe month or so as we start to get into the summer and see things start reopening. So I wish you all health, happiness, prosperity, peace. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn.
Dawn.
Nice job.
Bye.
Very nice.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you,
Bye.
Talia, Lisa.
Be well.
Thank you. Bye.